Just a quick heads up, today is probably going to be a double program, and I'm going to start this off by reorganizing my items. I'm going to give the silver powder to Volcarona so that I can give the shell bell to Electros. Reason for that being that it still doesn't have Drain Punch and Giga Drain, and it is slow as fuck. 50 base speed. That's borderline too slow for in-game, in my opinion, but thank God for those draining moves later on. But for the time being, I'm going to have to make do with the Shell Bell. So they were going to continue going through the Mile High Club and getting blown away into other dudes. There are a few interesting things coming with Generation 6, though, that I want to get into just for a bit. They announced that ghost types are going to be immune to trapping. You know, because trapping wasn't nerfed enough after they got rid of trap passing in Gen 5. Now ghost types can't be trapped at all. But I guess it's sort of logical in a way, so... And I guess I sort of like these little benefits that each type has that's sort of in the fine print. Well, I say each type, but there are only a few types that do have that. But still, it's a shame that trapping it just really isn't a thing anymore. Also, perhaps slightly more interesting is that the electric type will finally be immune to paralysis. I have no idea why it took 6 generations to jump to that conclusion, considering fire types are already immune to burn, and ice types are already immune to freeze, so it was about time. So, of course, the most obvious difference is that Thunder Wave is now going to be useless on electric types, though to be fair, electric types that had Motor Drive, Lightning Rod, or Volt Absorb were already unaffected by Thunder Wave to begin with, so I guess maybe just as big a difference is going to be the fact that, well, sorry, I'm sort of trying to focus here, but it's the fact that they're also going to be immune to random hacks from Discharge, Thunder, Thunderbolt, that kind of stuff, as well as being immune to Glare and Stun Spore, for all that Glare and Stun Spore aren't used all that often. Speaking of Stun Spore, even more interesting than this is the fact that grass types are going to be immune to Spore, Sleep Powder, Stun Spore, and Poison Powder, which is sort of weird in a way, because when you stop and think about it, most of the users of these moves are grass types to begin with, and is sending out a grass type to counteract another grass type really the best idea? Well, I'd say it would depend on secondary typings, and this is where Celebi could prove to be interesting, because right now there are 3 grass types in Overused, which are Venusaur, Celebi, and of course Breloom. Breloom uses Spore, or Venusaur uses Sleep Powder. Celebi can come in for free and immediately threaten with Psychic. Of course, that's Theoremon. That could turn out to be completely different, and Celebi could be going to underused for all we know. But it's certainly something to keep into consideration. Of course, it also depends on whether other grass types will manage to infiltrate the Overused tier this time around. And I guess Celebi's competence when it comes to that particular scenario also hinges on the possibility of its type not getting retconned, which I would say, I don't know. Can it get retconned? I think it's a likely candidate, but there's no way to know until the game comes out, or maybe the official site is going to be updated with that information in the coming weeks. I don't know, but the fact is, if Celebi loses its Psychic type, it can't threaten these 2 as well, and if it loses its Grass type, it loses its immunity to Spore and Sleep Powder. So overall, I wonder how these changes will affect the metagame. I'm thinking not too much, but there's still a nice little touch, you know, to make, I wouldn't say to make Pokemon more realistic, but just because of the fact that, you know, these types will have immunities that actually make sense in context. And I think I'm coming up on the part where you're actually forced to get blown away into the next part of this gym. So, heading over there, you're going to get blown into this wall here and trigger a battle with this trainer. And after that, the path will lead straight to Skyla. So, I was talking about these type-specific changes. I don't know if there will be more where that comes from. Maybe, maybe not. But, as I said, I don't think they will have too much of an influence on the metagame. I think just the fact that Steel loses its resistances to Ghost and Dark will probably have a much bigger impact, if only because even if Jirachi doesn't get its a type retcon, it's going to be that much easier to kill because it goes from 2 weaknesses to 4. And I think everyone can agree that Jirachi being easier to kill is a good thing, especially considering that, well, it's probably the most luck-reliant Pokemon in the metagame right now, and it's very good at doing that job. Of course, the end result also is that Metagross and Bronzong will also be easier to kill, and since Metagross's ranking isn't too high anymore, Metagross in Underused next gen, anyone? Man, remember back when Heracross being in Underused was such a scandal and a huge deal, and now we're looking at the possibility of getting Metagross in there? Man, times sure change. Anyway, I'm just gonna wait here before I get blown away. And, wow, I'm going around in circles even though I'm not getting blown away at all. Anyway, okay, over here we have a dead end, so nothing left to do but go talk to Skyla. So, this gym puzzle was actually pretty easy in retrospect, but why don't you and I have some fun? Really, game? Really? I've said it before, but it's worth repeating. They knew. They had to know what they were doing when they designed this character. Like, if you design her, they will come. That's the age-old rule of the internet. Anyway, she's leading with a Swoobat against an Electros that has both Thunderbolt and Crunch. Pick your poison. So I decided to go with Crunch because, well, why not? Seriously, though, there's no particular reason behind that pick. It's just that, you know, either one works since Swoobat has paper-thin defenses. Okay, she's going with Swanna, her ace, which has a quadruple weakness to Thunderbolt. So now there really is a definite choice. And it was a good pick considering Feather Dance lowers attack by 2 levels. So, well, it's not like Crunch was super effective against Swanna to start with, but even if I had a physical option that worked well, wait, I do, Rock Slide. So, I guess Thunderbolt was all around the best choice. Anyway, Skarmory, which replaces, I think it was... Oh, right, Unpheasant. All around a big upgrade for Skyla, even though Thunderbolt still chews it like no tomorrow. Though, have you ever seen an Unpheasant with Sturdy? Nope. Well, Skarmory gets it, and it's pissing me off, because Hyper Potion is just stalling for time, and it will allow Sturdy to be triggered again, even though it accomplishes a whole lot of nothing, because I can't imagine Skarmory dealing too much damage to this here Electros. Steel Wing, even with Stab, is pretty weak. So, down Skarmory goes! I have successfully brought Skyla to her knees. Not that it's particularly difficult or anything. So, the Jet Badge is now mine once again. And, of course, since this is Generation 5, the benefits of the Jet Badge are fairly limited, allowing Pokemon up to level 70 to obey you even if they were obtained in a trade. So yeah, just a stepping stone. Considering the way the battle went, I could totally buy that. Seriously, what's the big idea? Building a flying type gym right next to a cave that's full of rock types and electric types? It's just horrible. A bad case of Lieutenant Surge syndrome here. So, I'm going to have a TM here. I don't think it's Aerial Ace. I think it's Acrobatics, yeah. I was about to say. Acrobatics, just a little bit less powerful, but its power doubles when you don't have a held item on it, which in-game is usually a waste unless you use a gem or something like... well, competitively, I mean, it's usually a waste unless you use a gem, but in-game, it really makes you think, but personally I prefer going with items anyway. And I didn't even get any time to talk to Clyde because I was just blown away out of the gym instantly. So, here's Professor Juniper, who is ready to get carried to the new area in this game, that is Lantimus Town. The other side of the mountain, I imagine that she's referring to Reversal Mountain, which is located right next to Lantimus Town. That's going to be a destination that we are going to go to in a bit, but there are a few things I'd like to do before that. So yeah, she's going to be waiting for me in Mr. Alton Cargo Service. And before doing that, there are a few things that I would like to take care of. She just does everything at her own pace. Well, don't criticize her too much, because as you're going to find out, so do I. First, I just want to head back in and talk to Clyde, see if he's got anything to say. Odds are that no, but I still want to show that dialogue. Yeah, it's almost like being hit by a Pokemon move. It's kind of fun, yeah. I suppose getting blown can be kind of fun, depending on which kind of blowing it is, but being blown in a wind tunnel like that, not really my idea of fun. Of course, Skyla is involved, so who knows what kinds of blowing are going on in there. So, now that I've been to Skyla, I want to talk to this guy, and he's going to tell me that he left his treasure at the edge of the runway. So, I think this was that in Black and White 1 as well? I would like to think so, because it's awfully familiar. So, heading, I think it's over there, yeah. So it's the Aerial Ace TM that I was considering as the other possibility for what Skyla could give me as a TM. So, basically now that I've found the treasure, they're going to congratulate me on doing so, even though the Aerial Ace TM just isn't very impressive. It always hits its target, but overall, it's still too weak to be of any kind of use, even competitively. If it had its power boosted to 70, it might be interesting, but as it stands now, it's a bit too weak, especially considering that Sandvale and Snowcloak are banned anyway. But I shouldn't start thinking about that, else I'm going to start getting angry all over again. So, let's talk to Skyla to make off to Lantimus Town. However, there is still something missing from the equation. No, we are not ready for takeoff because here we go. Bianca wants to come along to Lantimus Town as well, and it would be utterly foolish to turn her down. Why, you ask? You're gonna see in a couple videos, but it will be entirely worth having her come along. So, off we go to Lantimus Town, indeed. So, yeah, let's fly the Unova skies. We get a fancy little cutscene of the plane taking off. And off we go to northeastern Unova. I would just like to point out that they don't show anything of what's going on in the plane. Make of that what you will. And unfortunately, this is the last opportunity I will have had to crack fun at Skyla for a while, because we are no longer in the vicinity of Mr. Alton City. Instead, we're going to explore the post-game areas of the first game on the way to Opelucid City. So, Juniper is giving us some exposition as to why she wanted us to come here. Basically, so we get some more backstory on the first game. Reshiram followed Anne, and Zekrom followed our character from Black and White 1, which doesn't make an appearance in this game. So she wants to get to the bottom of what Team Plasma plans to do, and she wants to hear the story from Drayden's mouth. Which, as far as I'm concerned, sounds like a plan.